Guys, notice the difference? Spot the difference? Spot it? I'm no longer cold. The heating has been fixed. Yes, I can announce that the heating has been fixed and I am no longer cold. And yeah, I am wearing a knockoff Burberry scarf on top of a Dragon Ball t-shirt because why not? After I posted my last video about Lioness, about the finale of the season 2 finale, English is not my first language, I felt like I didn't say enough. I felt like I had more in me to say about this show because I was amazed at season 1 and then I was disappointed at season 2, and I want to explore that a little bit more. I want to talk about the comparisons that I can draw. Well, maybe not comparisons, but parallels? No, comparisons. Comparisons I can draw between the two seasons. I want to talk about some of the characters. I want to talk about the characterization of the men versus the women. And I want to talk about what I think they should do for season 3, which absolutely they will not do because, as I said in my previous video, I think that season 1 was far superior, not just because of the overall story that had a lot more sense and was more cohesive because the target was the same throughout the entirety of the season. It was the first time we were introduced to this task force with the Lioness and with these tactics. There was a lot of shock value in it. It had a good love story with sense. And the tension was good, the characterization were good, the way that the task force and the participation in the task force and in the military and in these covert missions had an impact on the personal lives of those people was well done in season 1. In season 2, well, a lot of shouting, a lot of action, not much being said, actually. Because if you think about it, season 1, like, motifs, themes, ideas explored is not only the trauma that is implied in being part of a military task force, but the conflict in the case of Cruz, the conflict between maintaining her patriotic values and maintaining her promise to her country, between that and falling in love with someone, like choosing between your country and the person you love is the conflict of season 1. Mostly. And it's played out beautifully. The conclusion is insanely good because the whole time you expect that Cruz will die and then she doesn't. The season 2 theme is what? Action? Patriotism? Nationalism? Because, we could argue that season 2 theme or main theme is choosing between your country and your family, but was it even a choice for Josie? Her family was ass. Can you imagine comparing the choice that Cruz had to make between Aaliya and her mission and the choice that Josie had to make between her ass family, and the mission? There's no comparison at all. So I feel like that was the core of the issue, because I was talking about tension in my previous episode, but the tension is brought about to the show by the origin of what causes it. Was the fact that we were always expecting for Cruz to perish, and the fact that then there was the accumulated tension of the fact that she loved this woman, and that was at stake. But in season 2, the core of the tension is not there, because what does Josie really have to lose? She doesn't spend any time with her family anyway. What does she have to lose? Her life, I guess. But yeah, I think that was the big thing between season 1 and season 2. Season 2 didn't know what it was trying to say. It did know. It was trying to say country at all costs. But, well, I want to talk as well about Taylor Sheridan because I'm not very familiar with his work. And as I'm recording this video, I haven't watched that much stuff from him. I watched Sicario, I think. And I kind of have an idea of what happened to his female characters because I went on the web, said the oldest person on the earth ever. I went on the web and I researched what Taylor Sheridan is about. And the first thing that I found was this thing that happened with the first elections that Trump won, where Taylor Sheridan was basically saying, please impeach him. Take him off there. And then later on, he was asked about it and he denied it. Or took it back or something like that. And what I think happened is that he truly understands that this person being in office is a problem and he shouldn't be there. And he expressed it very naturally in an interview. He was caught off guard and his opinion slipped, kind of. And then he took it back because the majority of his audience are Trump supporters. Let's not get it twisted. I'm sure a lot of you who like watch my videos and about Lioness and watch Lioness are Trump supporters. Sure. Which I am not. Let's get it straight. Like, that man should be in jail. Jail for that man. Seriously. Like, let's not get it twisted. But I think that's what happened with his female characters. Because with Aaliya, and I didn't properly research this, maybe he didn't write Aaliya, but with Aaliya, he got a proper female character with a good characterization of, you know, a type of woman, I guess. Because Aaliya was born to a family where she doesn't have any control over her life. Her destiny is basically decided for her. Like, she will marry a specific man, she'll have children, and then she will become her mother, basically. But the way that Taylor Sheridan wrote her, if he wrote her, was in the way that a woman being brought up in that system would be, which is she still has dreams and aspirations, and she wants a different life for herself, but she understands the game she's playing. She's intelligent, she's resourceful, she can still have this love affair with the lioness, with Cruz, and get it like under wraps. So she's very intelligent to be able to do this, and she's so perceptive about the world around her. She isn't deluded about the idea that she's the daughter of a gun stealer. Like, she knows exactly what that means. She knows exactly who her father is. And yet, she still loves him because that's still her father. Like, the way Aaliya was written was actually good. I like that character. And the way that Cruz was written was good in season 1 because Cruz was in an abusive relationship with her boyfriend and she didn't have anyone else. And she was literally, as I've said many times before, running away from this boyfriend. And that's how she got into the military. She got into the military because she didn't have anyone else. She escaped into the military, and the military took advantage of this to be able to brainwash her and indoctrinate her into this idea that giving her life for her country was the best thing that she could do, given that she didn't have a life because she was being abused. And then Cruz did her career in the military. She was like top notch. She was recruited for the Lioness. And then she fell in love with her target. And this gives her because Cruz in season 2, written for men. Cruz in Josie, written for men. Cruz in season 1, Cruz and Aaliya, absolutely written for women. A secret love affair between two people who have absolutely no control of their circumstances whatsoever. Written for women. And I don't know how Taylor Sheridan did that, given like his past catalog, let's say. But I think what happened with season 2 was the same thing that happened when he was asked about the interview where he said they should impeach Trump. It was like, he had to take it back. Like, he created decent female characters, and then his audience probably was like, oh, are you sure? And he probably had to take it back with season 2. Like, that's my working theory right now. This is what happened. And I really hope that he comes to his senses, because, I mean, he probably has a lot of power and say in what happens in these shows that he makes. I hope he comes to his senses and he brings Aaliya back, and he brings back the complexity and the onion characters that we need. Because, I mean, can't we have a military show that actually deals with the reality of what it is? Because in season 1, I thought we could, even with Joe. Let's talk about Joe. Season 1 Joe is a lot more complex than Season 2 Joe, because in Season 1, Joe is completely committed to the job and the family is in second plan. Kinda. Not really, but kinda. Like when her daughter gets hurt, she goes there. She's worried. But she's very authoritative, and it makes sense. It makes total sense that a military mother would be authoritative. Completely. And the thing that I loved so much about Joe's relationships in season 1 was her relationship to her eldest daughter. Because kids copy. Kids imitate what you do. Kids learn from what you do much more than they learn from what you say. And Joe's eldest daughter was kind of becoming manipulative and a lying little shit, kind of like her mother, because she was able to manipulate her father to believe that she was sorry for something or something like that, even though she wasn't. And she let her mother know that she wasn't. Like, this is a manipulative behavior from like a 13-year-old, 14-year-old. The consequences of Joe's working life and Joe's general attitude, very frigid attitude towards life, were showing in her daughter, even though she wasn't that present there. And that was so smart. Like, I loved seeing that. But then it didn't happen anymore. In season 2, everything was fixed by the accident that the eldest daughter was in. And now they are the perfect family. And the conflict now is with the husband, because for some reason, at the very end of the season, the husband was like, you gotta pick. You gotta pick, it's us or the military. And I'm like, bro, where did this come from? Oh, it came from her being shot. But I mean, she could have died at any time during the years, all the years that she's been there. But yeah, the conflict went to the husband, and I hated it. I hated it so much, especially because they inserted so many little moments in season 2 that were just clearly put there to talk about like burning hot topics in politics, like the non-binary stuff or transgender stuff and gender-neutral bathrooms. I don't know what else they talked about. They talked about not having kids, like pregnant. At any corner, there was a topic that was inserted, casually talking about it, and it was clearly to make the point that the show is very right-wing, which I don't think it is, honestly. I think it made itself right-wing just to appease to the audience that watches Taylor Sheridan stuff. I mean, tell me in the comments if I'm wrong. Tell me in the comments if you think that truly Taylor Sheridan's shows and Lioness season 2 is aimed at someone like me. And then we have Joe's team. I kind of love them. I mean, the dude that comes from the outside, what's his name? Not Tex. The asshole. The asshole dude. We all know who he is. Hate him. Can go burn somewhere else. Hate him. From beginning to end, hate him. The guy from Homeland Security, the guy from the Mexico border, and NIS, NHA. What am I saying? The new character we see in the Guterres. I like him. The thing that is interesting to me about Joe's team is the trauma of the inflictor. Because I don't even know if this is a word, but quick story. I studied psychology in university and I didn't intern with offenders, but a friend of mine interned with offenders and she did her internship in a prison. And one of the people she had to work with, one of the offenders that she had to give like consults to, was in prison for essaying a woman. And one of the extraordinary, not extraordinary, but like just surprising things she found out from counseling this inmate was that he had PTSD from it, from doing it, from committing that crime. He had PTSD. And to me, when she told me that, it was like, great, fair is fair. Go ahead. But that's the thing no one really talks about, because this team, the Lioness Task Force and Joe's team, is inflicting a lot of trauma. They just go to random countries, to the desert, and they shoot up people. That's their job. Their job is to go on a plane, fly somewhere and shoot people. Like, I don't think the show has even come close to analyzing the amount of trauma these people have from the amount of trauma they inflict. And to me, if you are going to do a proper season 3, you would, oh my god, that rhymed. Me and my accidental rhymes. But yeah, if you were going to do a proper season 3, you would tap into the trauma. Because this is the thing we need to talk about. I think you would blow your audience away if you did a season just focused on how messed up those people are. Because I don't think you could ever leave the military in any country, especially a country that has like active warfare. I don't think you could ever leave the military and be okay again. Like, you don't leave the person that you came in. And I feel like it's fair to discuss that. And I feel like a show like Lioness has so much space to discuss that. Especially now that Jo is supposed to leave the active duty. I think that even if she leaves, she's going to be kind of like Caitlyn and stay on the sidelines. Season 3 should be Jo going through this, like leaving the field and finally having the time to process the past, I don't know, like 20 years maybe of her life. And it should just be her freaking out, dealing with all of the consequences of all of the things she has done. This should be season 3. And then at the end, Aaliya appears for season 4. About Jo's superiors, I don't have a lot to say apart from since when? I mean, not since when. We know since when. But what is Morgan Freeman doing in this show? What is he doing in this show? Like, Morgan Freeman needs to get out of the show. Like, leave it. And either they fix the show or it has to go. Because I don't want to see that perfect human being being part of something like this. Like, it's so funny to me that there are so many pieces of media where Morgan Freeman is part of the White House, that like he is the image of Hollywood. If you think of a Hollywood movie, president or vice president or something in the White House, you think Morgan Freeman. Like, he's the White House face of Hollywood. But I feel like he's too good for this show. He doesn't deserve the bad rap that is associated with the show. That's what I think. That's the only opinion I have about the superiors. Morgan Freeman should leave it behind. Okay, but I do have something else. I love the scenes between Caitlyn and her husband, Nicole Kidman and her husband, because, like, I believe it. I believe that in real life, like, ginormous decisions and actions are taken at dinner tables. And it's like, I'm married to this person, I'm the mother of this person, I'm the son of this person, and we all make decisions together. And to me, it's what George Carlin said. Do y'all remember what George Carlin said? He said, there doesn't need to be like an overall plan. There doesn't need to be a secret society that rules the world. The only thing you need is the people with the most power, with the most money, having goals that align. And they will make decisions towards the same goal, even without conferring, even without being in cahoots with each other. And that's what I like about Caitlyn and her husband, because they represent this completely. Like, Caitlyn is in the CIA, and her husband, I think, is the CEO of some petrol company or something. And they are literally in bed with each other. And this is what we see throughout season 2 as well. It's like, all these people with power are all in bed with each other, be it companies, be it governments, be it terrorist organizations, whatever it is, the mob. They're all in bed with each other. And the only reason these military task force and these secret services exist is just to put each other on check. It's the entire season 2 is basically the US through the CIA putting China in check, being like, boo, you stepped over the line. No dinner for you today. And I like that. I like seeing it. I hate that we live in that world, and I'm sure there's more than a few similarities with real life, but I loved watching it. That was fun. That was fun. Like, the conversations between Caitlyn and her husband are a highlight for me of the entire show, from beginning to end. So, yeah, let's just quickly talk about the characterization of men and women in Lioness. I think I've mentioned like women a little bit, but the characterization of men is so hyper masculine. Think about it. The only I don't know which man in this show is not hyper masculine. Maybe the guys in the CIA and the White House, they are a bit more laid back, but I mean, are they? They just shout at each other the whole time. This is the thing that I wanted to say. The female characterization is not even close to being accurate to any woman you see in real life, or to the majority of them, even in the military, let's be honest, apart from Aaliya and Cruz in season 1, and maybe some of the other characters in season 1. And the characterization of men is insane. I do not know, well, I know a couple, but the majority of the men that I know don't act like that. Don't act like they're all the time. So even the characterization of men is completely hyper masculine and just exaggerated to a ridiculous extent. I mean, we mostly see men in the military, so I understand why, but I feel like Taylor Sheridan or whoever wrote this show is writing the type of man that um some men in the US want to be. You know, those people who buy guns and have a lot of alarms at home and take photos with their guns and want to go hunt lions or something. I feel like he's making a show with the kind of men that these real life men want to be and know they're not. You know what I mean? So, is the portrayal of any of the characters actually decent? Yes, in season 1. And maybe Caitlyn and Byron in season 2 was okay. I like Lioness. I hope there is a season 3, but I really, really, really hope it leans more towards season 1 than season 2. I feel like even if you love the action and the shouting and the war and the guns and the military, I feel like even the audience members that are like hardcore fans of action-packed military shows missed a little something from season 2. I feel like even if you are hardcore into action, you can't just have like hours and hours and hours of poo poo and shout shout. You know, I feel like people have a lot more complexity in them and a lot more layers in them to just be content with that. Tell me if I'm wrong, but I'm assuming a lot more of the audience of the show than the show itself assumes. I feel like you can give the, oh, I'm a man and I'm strong audience a little bit more credit than that, because even the men in real life that I know that are very much, oh, I'm a man, I'm strong, are complex people, complex human beings who also enjoy seeing complex human beings on screen. I feel like the show at least owes a little bit of respect to its audience and can make something more complex and layered for its characters. But anyway, thank you for watching, and like, comment, subscribe, comment. That's what I want, comments. But if you like, actually, it helps me a lot with the algorithm. Why am I'm drinking a juice. That's why I'm wearing this. I'm gonna drink a juice. Because I'm a child. Because I'm a child. But yeah, see you again eventually. Oh, and go watch Black Doves. Much better than Lioness. Oop, I said it. I said it. And I said it with a southern accent. And also, after watching Black Doves, I felt like rewatching Villanelle. So in my head, I'm adding Villanelle to my Christmas watch list, which at this point is really just English movies and TV shows. Anyway, bye bye.